All right, guys. Well, they're telling us we are live, so we must be live. And it is another Thursday. I can't believe it's already Thursday again. Holy smokes. But it is my pleasure to have another weekly episode of Conversations with Commodores. And I know you guys recognize my guest tonight, EC, Everett Crawford out of Huntsville, Alabama, the pride and joy of Lee High School. Hey, Everett, thank you for joining us tonight, bud. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Oh, this is going to be a fun conversation because what you guys don't know, Everett was a couple of years ahead of me. And by far, me being just a lowly freshman quarterback, Everett being a very much involved in the offense, number one, playing. And you TP, you're right. He was as smooth as they came on and off the field. And I love to throw passes to Everett Crawford. But we're going to get into all of that stuff. And so many of the fellas are rolling through already. You got Tony Piercy. You got Chris Kraus and so many others.
Fellas.
I'll give you time, Everett, to say hello to them. They're going to have some good conversation and good comments, I'm sure, as we go through here. But for folks who aren't up to date with Everett Crawford and all things Crawford, catch us up on your beautiful family and what you're doing these days.
Well, thanks, Bernie. So, it's just a pleasure to be here to kind of connect with all the old players and everything. So I'm living in Alpharetta, Georgia. I work for a mortgage servicing company out of Florida, but I work remote out of the Atlanta area. I'm director of product and strategy for them and, manage a team both onshore and offshore. So I've been doing that now in this field since 2012, but certainly through the engineering world, just kind of done a lot of different things through industry. From aerospace defense to medical devices to healthcare IT, kind of settled right now in the mortgage industry for the last, 9 years or so, 10 years. So certainly enjoying it. Have 3 kids. One's finished college, studying to take the MCATs for med school, and 2 at Georgia Tech, finishing up, both engineers like I am. And so we're certainly proud of their accomplishments thus far.
What you guys may not know just yet, but you'll learn in the next 45 minutes. There's not 1, not 2, not 3, but at least 4 Crawfords who are engineers. That's pretty impressive right there, my friend. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah. They chose those paths. I was surprised, but they chose it on their own. And, I can't be disappointed. They all have jobs too, so I don't have they're not coming to my pocket anymore. So I'm enjoying that.
Oh, that's a big day. That's a big day for a parent right there. But let's talk about your path, Everett. Let's talk about your journey coming out of Huntsville. I know you played every sport known to man back then, and you excelled at all of them, including the decathlon. But let's take it back to middle school. Who are some of your first of all, what were some of your sports that you really in the middle school time period that caught your attention? And then who are some of your sports heroes that maybe you tried to pattern, whatever sport it was, you tried to pattern your game after those folks?
Yeah. So I guess, let's go all the way back to, I started playing football at 5 years old, and my dad ran a YMCA. So I got a chance to really get involved with a lot of different sports. So every time, whatever sport was for that season, I played it. So I had that opportunity to do that. Met a lot of people that I got a chance to meet and play. So when I was growing up, I was also the ball boy for Alabama A&M University, which was not far from my house. And at the time when I was doing it, one of their star receivers that you guys probably know pretty well is John Stallworth. And so he was a senior or so when I was a ball boy there, and just watching him play was just like incredible. And actually got a chance to interact with him before I came to Vanderbilt, which you spent a summer training together. Just learned so much from him and another former Vanderbilt player, Preston Brown, who was there. They were all in Huntsville. Another guy, Dwight Scales. All these guys were in the NFL, and we used to practice together and everything before I came to Vanderbilt that summer. And that was one of the biggest experiences that I had. So, but as far as, I played everything coming all the way up. I guess I started I cut down on sports when I got to high school to just football and track. I was playing basketball at a while for a little bit, but just got tired of that and just stuck with the two sports and focused on school and just enjoying my time.
Well, Everett, I got to tell you, you don't know this, but John Stallworth, I thought was the smoothest, the best. I did not like Lynn Swan because I thought he ran his mouth too much. But I love John Stallworth because he was from the state of Alabama.
Yep.
He's the reason I'm still a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Has
Me
nothing
too.
to do with John Norwig whatsoever.
Yeah.
It is because of John Stallworth. Now, for those of you who also may not know this, who is another Lehigh product who also starred and played wide receiver at Vanderbilt University?
Oh, I know who that is.
Dr. Derek Gregg.
Derek Gregg. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Derek has been on my show and he's doing some awesome things with the NCAA right now. So proud of his accomplishments.
I've been keeping up with Derek and, been to Huntsville guys coming from where we came from. It's certainly been just a blessing to kind of come out of Huntsville and continue to do great things beyond that point. So, I've communicated a little bit on LinkedIn a few times, but I know he's busy these days, so respecting his time.
And Tony just reminded me, y'all both wore the same jersey number. That's right.
Yeah. Derek, Derek wore it at one when he was in high school too, number one, and he said he wanted to wear that number because I had it. And so, I don't know if I left some type of mark on him, but I appreciate it.
Well, you certainly must have left a great impression on him. I think if it's not already a retired jersey, we need to petition Lee High School. That jersey, it's about time to get it retired. After the two of y'all had it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we wore it well. We wore it with pride when we were there, for sure.
Well, let's talk about your recruiting process a little bit, Everett. Alabama and Auburn being the two powerhouse programs in state historically, they try to go after all the athletes in our state, but from time to time, folks leave our state. Were Alabama and Auburn on your radar? Were you on their radar? Or where did Vanderbilt fit in before you made that decision?
So it's an interesting story. So it's, to be honest, I enjoyed playing football. I played since I was 5 years old. So when I got to high school, I was playing it. I got a chance to start as a defensive back starting off my sophomore year playing varsity. Then I started moving back to offense my junior my junior and senior year. And the interesting part about it was going into my senior year, a guy I knew who was playing college said, "Man, I think you can go D1." I wasn't even thinking about football. I was applying for academic scholarships and things like that. So I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." So we trained the whole summer and everything. And so didn't get a lot of letters and everything. So my senior year, we were playing a lot of the powerhouse schools. We played Jeff Davis at the time and some other schools. I can't remember some of them now. Austin High School, which was a powerhouse back in the day, and we play all these schools, and and I was just racking up yards, and there were so many recruiters that were there watching other players, and then they were like questioning, "Who is that guy?" Then letters start coming in from that point, right? So, I had visited Georgia Tech, visited Auburn, really liked Alabama because a lot of the players from my high school would go to Alabama to play. And the recruiter that came up was he wasn't a fan favorite, let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. And so we just didn't mesh. And I would talk to some of the other players in the area, and no one had a good relationship with him. And in fact, no one from North Alabama went to Alabama. They either went to Auburn or they went out of state, which I think he got fired the next year.
Well, was this this probably was under the Perkins era?
It was, yeah.
Probably his first or second year of recruiting. That's for sure.
It sure was. So he ended up leaving the organization that next year. But so went through recruiting, actually had committed to Auburn. And was waiting on the answer back. Back then they took in the faxes and everything for everything. It's not digital like it is today. So I was waiting to hear back and stuff. So during that time, a neighbor across the street from me was he he was with the Huntsville School Board and a neighbor. So he was at the house and my parents, and we just kind of started laying out pros and cons, long-term, short-term goals, what are the positives, negatives of going to either school. And, just from that waiting period, I changed my mind and decided to go to Vanderbilt just for a number of reasons from, what's the long-term strategy that I was trying to achieve. Now, I got to tell, being 18 years old at that time, trying to make that kind of decision was tough because you never know what life is taking you. So, I was thankful that, my parents and neighbors cared about my future enough to kind of, lean into me enough to at least make some good decisions on where to go. And so I did. I then changed to Vanderbilt. The next day, the coach from Auburn flew up to my high school and was trying to convince me to go to Auburn. And, I stuck with my decision at that point.
So your decision to go to Vanderbilt, was that purely academic or was there a football component that was
it was
decision?
Definitely football was part of it, opportunity to play. At the time I had the opportunity to play the offense or defense.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn wanted me to play defensive back. So the options were there. Probably play a little bit sooner was another thing. It was in the SEC. It was close to home where parents and friends could come and see the game. So all those things kind of led to the decision to go there. The education within itself was certainly a big plus as well.
Sure. Who was your recruiting coach for Vanderbilt?
It was Sam McCorkle,
Mm-hmm.
Was recruiting coach then. And Sam stayed at my school for about 2 weeks. I mean, every time I come out of class, I saw him in the hallways. It got to a point I was running. I was hiding as much as I could. Wow. But he was in the principal's office. He was talking to teachers. He was just all over the place. But, it was certainly a blessing. But I'm sure like everybody on the call, if you got recruited and you went through the process, the first month or two was like, so, you feel so good about yourself. But when you get down to the tail end of it, it's like you're hiding from people. You don't want to answer the phones no more. And you just get so many calls from different schools wanting to convince you to come there. And I was ready for it to be over.
When did you visit the campus for the first time?
I visited, I can't remember the first time, but on my recruiting visit, we had two other Huntsvillians that were at Vanderbilt. That helped as well. Marvin Thomas and Carl Jordan, both were from Huntsville. So, they kind of showed me around the campus and everything. And I've been knowing Marvin since we were growing up at the YMCA when I was, 8, 9 years old. So I knew him a long time, played against him in high school as well, and knew Carl Jordan as well. So that familiarity with those guys kind of made the transition for me even more easier to make that decision.
Well, that's good. It always helps having some familiar faces there. And when did you come up to start at Vanderbilt? Was it during the summer, just after graduation, or did you come in that camp when the other freshmen reported?
Yeah, so I came in early. I came in and just went straight to, took a few engineering classes before I got started. So I went to summer school and trained on campus at the time. I had about 2 months there about a month and a half where, as I mentioned, I was training with John Stallworth from those guys, and they really helped me out. Because I got to tell you, in high school, I couldn't catch a cold. I couldn't catch worth anything. But working with those guys, it really helped me understand about how to catch and little things you need to do. So, that really helped me a lot. And coming that summer was helpful as well. Ended up tearing my hamstring, though, rushing from class, just running out there cold and trying to run a go route. And it was right before the state all-star football game that I had to go back to Alabama for. So that wasn't a good time. But I managed to get through it. And I ended up playing still, but I didn't push it that much in the game.
Well, I know about hamstrings, and those are no joke. You got to take care of those.
Yeah.
Well, Everett, what was your impression, I guess, of the weight room, not the weight room, but the training that you were doing? Was Doc Crease still there, or was it the transition to Coach Bates? at that
Yeah,
time?
I had Doc Crease was there, and I tell you that guy was something else. I mean, he was a character. I really enjoyed being with him. It's a funny story. So the time when I came for my recruiting trip, Ward Drennan was also there recruiting. And so I'm walking around, they're showing me the areas all around the weight room and the facilities and everything. And I look in there, and Doc Crease has Wade in there doing power clean. So this visit, I would never forget that. He was sweating, had on his nice shirt. I had to get out of there quick.
That's funny. That's so funny.
He put him to work quick. So.
Yeah. But the transition from high school, no matter how big a star you were or how accomplished you were, going from the high school level to the college level doesn't always translate, or it takes a while to get used to that. Now you've got quarterbacks who can throw the ball as far as you can run. Now you've got other receivers and running backs who are as fast as you, or as good a hands, or as strong as you. And you were one of those rare athletes who, from my observation, when you came in, you were able to adapt pretty quickly, just because that was your exterior. That's what you showed. And I mean this as a compliment. To me, you're kind of like a duck on the water. Everything above the water is cool, calm, and collected. We don't have any idea what hell's breaking loose down below the water level, because we can't see that. And to me, that was the type, and this is a compliment, this was the type of athlete that you were. You could adapt pretty quickly, no matter what was going on behind the scenes. Was it really that way for you, or did you have some times of struggle?
I would say, I put in the work to kind of learn the offense as quickly as I could, to make sure I at least didn't get lost. But I got to tell you, our running back room, my freshman year, I mean, we had some pretty, we had a very senior leadership there. You had Louis Stevenson, you had Keith Edwards, you had Carl Woods, you had myself, and a few other players that were in that running back room. And you just see how they studied the game, how they kind of prepared, and you start picking up on those little things that they're doing to get prepared for the games, and how they went about their business to get ready for, preparation for games and practices. And you start to mimic those type of behaviors. And, that certainly really helped a lot. And the competition we had really was a big plus.
Well, Everett, you had some fantastic athletes in the backfield. All those names that you're throwing out there, those are record-setting players.
Yeah.
Keith at one point held the SEC record with 200 career catches. He had 97 in 1 year, which set the record at the time. Goo Baby, I think, was the career rushing record leader when he left from Vanderbilt, since broken all of these records, broken even by Vanderbilt guys with Jordan and others who have just come along after them. So you had some great competition and some mentors, if you will, ahead of you. But Everett, we got another North Alabama Vanderbilt man calling in, Kenny Cole from the Decatur area, now in Huntsville, a successful attorney, says to tell you hello.
Oh, hello, how you doing?
So let's go back to that first fall. Were you rooming? Did you have a roommate? Did you live on your own? Where did you guys live as freshmen?
Yeah, so we were in Branscombe. We were in Branscombe dorm. My roommate was a guy by the name of Al Milton. He unfortunately fell by way of the academic man through the process, but Al was an interesting guy. Played quarterback. He actually played in Ohio, and his star running back at the time was Chris Carter. So that's who we threw to in high school.
Wow.
And so, so we would talk about a lot of those types of things, and, and so that's who my roommate was. And it was an interesting experience. He played quarterback. He didn't get a chance to play that much. And, but, he was, we were in different things. I was always out in the lab or something in schools, and, he was doing what he had to do as far as,
what he wanted to do.
School, what he wanted to do, exactly. So he loved to sleep. I can know that much.
Yeah, that's one of the unsung things that maybe folks who didn't play a sport in college don't understand, that there's not a lot of energy for most folks after you've finished 3 practices or 40 or 50 hours with your sport and schoolwork. You got to sleep. You
I
have to
know
sleep at
you
some
do.
point or it'll catch up with you. But a
Yeah.
guy who could also handle it very well, Carl Parker, says to tell you hello, calls you silky
Oh,
smooth.
Carl. Yeah, hey, Carl.
Uh, well, Everett, let's talk about that fall. You got Coach McIntyre. He's your first 2 years were his last 2 years
Right.
at Vanderbilt, and I did not have the honor or pleasure of getting to either play for him. And I can't believe it. I never even met Coach Mack, but I know from many people he was a very beloved coach at Vanderbilt for several years, and I know his son also played probably around the time that you were
Yep.
there for some of your years, which just preceded me. I came in the fall of '86 with Watson Brown's first
Mm-hmm.
class. But with Coach Mack, that fall of '84, your freshman year, the first month was a very exciting time on campus, particularly for the football team.
Yeah, absolutely. We started out that year pretty strong. We have a strong senior class, and we really play some good football. I was doing kickoff returns, and I think that was the first exposure. And I remember we were playing Kansas State, I believe, the first game, and I just couldn't be amazed with all the people in the crowd, right? That's when we really had, full stadiums at that time of people at the games. And I just remember the noise. And then when that ball kicked, just, you didn't hear anything. It's like, it's amazing that how quiet things get. And so being able to, take the first kickoff and start the game off certainly was a big, uh, big experience for me starting off the season. But we ended up beating Alabama that year, and that's the last time that Vanderbilt has beat Alabama that year, and that was a fantastic game.
Let's go to that game. Did you get any game action? Did you return any kicks in your home
Yeah,
state? And how many Crawfords were in the crowd that day?
I had a few people in the crowd. They came down for the game. It was actually a great game. Carl went off. Carl Woods went off. I think I had like 50, 60 yards myself. I would come in and relieve him every other series as well. But just everybody was just playing top ball. Part of the motivation, I never forget this. We were in the locker room, and we had heard that Alabama had moved up their homecoming game to play to our game.
Mm-hmm.
And the seniors called a meeting, and they were pissed. They were, cursing and, just said, they disrespecting us and all that kind of stuff. And so we went in with just, we came in prepared. I mean, everybody was just on fire, and we played like it. I mean, that game, everybody, I mean, all facets of the game, everybody was playing their best, and it really showed on the field. So, ended up with the win. That was a great experience.
What was it like playing against former opponents in high school, or did you just block that out?
Yeah, it kind of blocked it out. I mean, a couple of guys, one of the guys at the time, Ricky Moore, was a fullback for Alabama at the time. He was from my high school. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't play against any, directly with my folks. We were on the same side of the ball. Mm-hmm. But, it was good. You go home, it's bragging rights. One of the guys lived right across the street from me, so I got a chance to really give it to him. So, it was great.
Everett, I've told this a few times because I've had Kurt Page, I've had Chuck Scott, and some others who played and contributed highly in that game. Yeah. That growing up in South Alabama, my entire family's gone to Alabama for 3 generations. Oh, wow. I was a 16-year-old sophomore high school kid sitting in the stands that game. I'm pulling for the Tide. That's all I've ever known.
Oh, yeah.
Little did I know that 18 months later, my teammates were guys. And I was not happy leaving the stadium because that's the first time Alabama had lost a homecoming, I think in like 28 years or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
But that's a very proud day now for me, and I know for you guys who played in that game. But speaking of guys I know you're proud of, Coach Ferg has joined the conversation. Dante Ferguson is in with us.
Dante, man, there's so many of us in the Atlanta area. I mean, we don't get a chance to get together as much. You know, life gets busy. I was out at the driving range maybe about 3-4 months ago. And actually, it's been longer than that. It was actually before the pandemic. Man, time flies. And a guy, we were just talking, and he said, "Man, he was talking about his body's hurting and that kind of stuff." And I'm like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Just old football injuries." "Where'd you play?" "I played at Vanderbilt." I said, "Oh, really? You did?" I said, "What year?" And so he finished up in 78, 80, somewhere down that time frame. And so it was pretty interesting. We had a pretty long conversation, and we exchanged numbers and stuff. But, you know, when the pandemic hit, it's been kind of hard to kind of connect with folks like you normally would.
You're right. I dare say there's 30, 40, 50 former Vanderbilt football players in the Atlanta metro area. And yeah, you guys need to get, maybe I'll come over there and organize, get everybody.
There you go. There you go.
For a meal. But
I had lunch with Mark Ratcher, and that's again before the pandemic last year. And we got a chance to connect for a little bit, and that was good. But, you know, like I say, everything shut down, and just hadn't really got back on the same track of being able to spend time with some of the old guys. I did see Boo and Mark Johnson and Henry Beelan. Although they have boys that are going through some training that Boo's been able to work out some. So I got a chance to kind of see them work out. And I tell you, it's just funny seeing the next generation of Vanderbilt players and seeing their kids. And it's just such a blessing to see that.
It is. I want to take you back on the field.
Okay.
You're in, let's say that EJ is under center. Mm-hmm. And you're on the left side, Rodney Barrett's on the right side, and number 79 is directly in front of you at left tackle. Who am I talking about? 6'9" out of Chicago. Greg Smith has joined the conversation.
Yep.
How you doing,
yep.
Smith?
Hey, Greg.
I'm so glad. He calls you a great athlete, an even greater person.
Oh man, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, Everett, you guys had such a strong bond. There was about 8 or 9 African-American accomplished athletes, all within a year or so of each other. And I was always envious because I wanted to know what was so funny. I wanted to know what made you guys laugh and just cut up. And I did not mind it that EJ picked on me every once in a while. I felt like I was part of the group, at least a little bit. But Dante, Gentry, TP, Boo, you guys, I mean, some hell of athletes, but even better friends. And I know you guys on some levels have remained friends all these years. Talk about that friendship group, that what it's meant to you over the years and back in the day as well.
Well, you know, we all came in together. So, you know, whenever you come in with a recruiting class, you kind of have that special bond. You know, we keep in contact. I probably keep in contact with TP probably more than the rest of the guys, but it's always when you do get a chance to talk to them, it's like no time has passed by. And that's when you know it's truly strong relationships. And so that's something that I've certainly enjoyed. But it's just, you know, when you go through the trenches, you know, you go through 2-a-days, in some cases 3-a-day practice together. I remember one time, this is when the transition happened. I think when Coach Brown came in, we were doing the 3-a-day practices and stuff. And I remember TP and I sitting in the locker room saying, man, I'm not going to ever let my kids play football. They're going to play tennis or golf or something else. I mean, it was just, I mean, we were just broke down that particular day. It just made you really think about some different things. But, you know, you go through the things like that and, you know, it's just a natural bond. You know, they say football is like its own fraternity where you really don't have to pledge, but I mean, it's, you know, and people that do play, just you're in 2 fraternities pretty much, but the football one definitely has a special bond.
Well, the fellas who came in the class of 88, 2 years after me, that's Derek Gragg, Corey Harris, and that group, most of those guys pledged. a fraternity, and they played football, and they've remained so very close. And it's very analogous to me. There's about a 4-year difference in ages in your group of close friends and that group of close friends, all of whom are accomplished men. But the thing that is so great about both groups is the common bond of playing college football together and then just being lifelong friends ever since. Now, that doesn't mean that everything was all great between everybody. I'm sure there were arguments and problems, and like any other friendship group, but I am sure that if the 6 or 7 of you guys all got together for a weekend, it'd be nothing but laughs and laughs.
It would be.
And laughs.
It would be. Yeah, it would be. No question about it. I mean, I just, I have had some chances and just watching TP's son play baseball when they played through Atlanta. I got a chance to catch him a couple of times, and that was always good to just see him, see how his kids interact with him. It's just funny how life just kind of comes back around on you, and just you play a different role in that whole scenario. But it's just certainly been a blessing to kind of go through that cycle.
Well, I want to talk about, I want to go back to your undergraduate days. I want to talk about, how did you learn to time manage? It's hard enough playing football at the SEC. It's hard enough to being a Vanderbilt student, but you turned it up a notch. You were an engineer. Vanderbilt's known for its engineering, and not everybody comes through there with flying colors, but you did. Yeah. You actually ended up graduating as one of the banner carriers, and that's a big honor.
Yeah.
How did you figure out time management?
It was, I don't know. I guess it just started, in high school. I had a group of friends in high school that we always pushed each other, both academically and athletically. So we challenge each other every term. If it's a test, we challenge each other who would get the best test. If it's a race, who's going to be the fastest. So we always challenged ourselves, try to push ourselves to the limit. When I got to college, I thought it was interesting because at Vanderbilt, you get a lot of valedictorians and all these guys that have kind of, high school was so easy for them. And when they get to Vanderbilt, because they never learn how to study, they will end up flunking out or not able to make it through and things like that. So I just say just being able to learn how to study was the big thing. But freshman year was tough. My sophomore year, the first semester was kind of challenging. But I remember that next summer, Alan Herline, who was a punter for Vandy, which you guys know, he was brilliant, but he challenged me. And I finally got that competition. He challenged me. We were taking an electromechanical class or something. And he challenged me on reading the chapters and doing something. So I made sure I was reading every chapter before we get to class. And then just from that, I realized, hey, I'm hearing this information 3 and 4 times now because I've read the material. And so I started using those type of techniques and just picking up from just people that I saw were successful at it. I just kind of adapted to what I do for school, and I just kind of came from there. But you think about, that's something that's unique too at Vanderbilt. I mean, you had a lot of the players that were in engineering. I mean, Tony, Marvin, Boo, we were in engineering, coming through the engineering track. So, it wasn't like it was something that we were just trying to come there and just play football. So that's been, you had to bust your butt. It wasn't no gimmies for sure.
Yeah, there was no yoga classes or learning the beginners of basket. There's none of those classes.
No.
That's not why you're at Vanderbilt. That's not what it's about. And you're right. It's different. It really is. And sometimes it takes into that sophomore year, second semester for it to click. Because if it doesn't, every recruiting class loses fellas along the way.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, let's talk about that awful turf on our field.
Oh my God.
For those who don't remember or don't know, AstroTurf was a fairly new system field. And I don't know what year they installed it. If Dwayne Jones is watching, I'm sure he knows because he knows the history so well. But I want to say, if I remember correctly, you got hurt because of that turf, or you had an event where maybe your foot caught under a seam or something like that. And it
Yeah.
just always struck a chord with me.
Yeah, I didn't get hurt. I got hurt in the game on the turf though, from I think against Virginia Tech.
Mhm.
But yeah, that turf was horrible. We had a lot of players we had a couple of players that got injured doing warm-ups. Just got leg got stuck and tore his knee up. And it was like going out on your street and just putting about a quarter-inch pad and put some artificial grass on it. That was kind of what we were playing on pretty much.
And those seams, and when I say by seams, they ran from sideline to sideline, and that's how the turf, in theory, was supposed to stay together. But inevitably, because the turf wasn't either managed or maintained, it wore out in spots. And seams would buckle up, and your foot could get caught very easily in those seams. And between that and what we used to call the turf monster, you could get some nasty burns along the skin that were horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. Now, see, you didn't get a chance to experience the first year, our freshman year. For some reason, Vanderbilt made a deal with this shoe company called Mitra.
TT just said that. He just put that in the comments.
And man, those shoes probably contributed to a lot of the injuries. Man, I mean, there were guys that were running routes and they come back and the sole is flapping off the bottom of the shoe. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Like what Zion Williamson did.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh man, it was some horrible equipment we had back then. I mean, I don't know. I'm thankful that more of us wasn't broken down or hurt with some of the equipment we had back then.
Well, thankfully, we switched over, at least by the time I got there, to full Nike uniforms and turf shoes. Remember the original turf shoes, at least the ones that I got, when you turned it over, it had all those little bitty, I don't even know what you want to call it, but it was supposed to act, I guess, to give you better traction on the actual turf itself. I don't know how to best describe it. It's changed many times over the years.
Right.
As thin as that turf was, and it truly was, it's nothing like what they have now.
Oh, no,
it was so thin. It was so uncomfortable even to just kneel down and tie a shoe off. Everett, take us to some of your, besides the Bama game, take a couple of memories that you may have on the field or I mean, during games, or maybe some practices or something that really make you smile or give you some good memories.
Yeah, I guess there's a few, we had some good games freshman year. I think I'll go to freshman year, I'll switch to another year, but I never forget when we were playing Virginia Tech when Bruce Smith was a senior. And Coach Amity, who at the time was defensive coordinator, called us in, no, he was the offensive coordinator, I think, but he called us into a meeting that Friday night while we were, preparing for the game and said, listen, we think that in this type of look, they're going to put him, he played defensive tackle, but they said they're going to put him on a defensive end. And what that would do in protection would put the running back on the defensive end, strong safety route. And so we said, if they do that, we're going to check out of it. And then that'll put the running backs on the inside linebacker, strong safety into the route. So Carl Woods went in, Bruce Smith was in his normal position, defensive end. So he did a series, and then they did a series and punted back. And then I came in the next series. And the first play breaking the huddle, I look out there, I saw that big dude sitting out there defensive end. That was pretty different. That was pretty, that was an eye-opening experience. But I'm glad we got that tip. So we switched to big on big, and Kurt Page saw it and put us in the right protection. But that guy he destroyed us so bad to where we ended up chip blocking him anyway, trying to at least.
Yeah,
that was
You can only do so much with a potential Hall of Famer.
Exactly. I mean, what else can you do? But yeah, he was all that he was he made out to be. Definitely got a firsthand look at that. But my senior year, I thought our offense, I didn't think we could be stopped. I mean, we had with EJ and Tony and Boo and Carl, and I mean, I just didn't think. I mean, we didn't feel like we could not score on people, and it was just that natural understanding of where things are, and I thought we had a good relationship. We kind of knew what was going on, how we needed to make adjustments as we need to, and those types of things. And it seems like everybody was meshing on offense. Defense, we certainly played some strong games, but but from the offensive side, we felt like we could, we came close a lot of times.
Was your final season the season of '87?
Yeah. I know we had Tennessee down 21-7 at halftime.
We're gonna it was more than that. We're gonna get to that in just a second.
Oh, okay.
We started out with a win. Memphis State came to Vanderbilt. We won that one 27-17.
Mm-hmm.
Then we lost a heartbreaker at Duke.
Yeah, a close one, 31-35, I think.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, lost a lot of close ones.
One of the games I truly thought we should have beaten Alabama. We lost 30-23.
Yeah.
You remember that game? That was
I do.
Tough game. Then we dropped several in a row, but then we won 3 in a row in October, November. Beat Rutgers at home. Beat Kentucky at home. And then beat Maryland at home.
Yeah.
Then we get to the game where we're up 28-3 at half.
28-3. Yeah. That's even worse.
We end up losing that game 38-36, and I will never forget having to wear our helmets off the field at halftime and after the game because batteries. And I want to say Tennessee was maybe going to the Orange Bowl. I could be wrong, but they threw everything. And you know how vertical that stadium is.
Yeah. They're
right on top of you.
Yeah.
But I remember working on certain plays. Jeff Francis was their quarterback.
Yeah.
And I ran the scout team, and we had certain plays we knew they were going to do. Remember, Billy Cunningham jumped one of their passes and took it back.
Yep, sure did.
An interception. It was the exact play we had just worked on in practice that week. But then the second half, it just all, went to hell in a handbasket for us.
I know it.
But there was some pretty great games that year in '87. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was.
That's right. And Dante reminded me that Spurrier was the coach at Duke back then.
He sure was. Which was interesting because I played in the Blue-Gray All-Star game, and he was the coach of the Blue-Gray All-Star game. And I kind of reminded him about we let them off the hook up there.
Who else from Vanderbilt played in that game, the Blue-Gray game?
It was Chris Gaines and myself played.
I got a story for you that I've told before. I used to go to that game each year for probably a 7 or 8 year period. If you remember, Chris was defensive player of the game.
Yeah.
Got a huge trophy. Do you remember what happened when he held up that big trophy to show everybody?
Yeah, it broke.
The whole thing fell apart in his hands, and he's holding the base. And the look on his face was like, what have I done? But for those of you who knew Chris, he was a beast, a monster. He had 37 tackles in the Tulane game that year.
Yeah.
And off the field, he's your best friend. He was awesome and still is. And I hope to get Chris and/or Brad on the show sometime.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good.
We'd go for hours talking with those fellas.
Yeah.
As I'm talking with Everett Crawford, we're having a good time. We got a few more minutes left. But one of the beloved Keystone Cops is with us. Billy Smith says to tell you.
Oh, Billy. Hey, how you doing, Billy?
Love it when Billy joins us. And guys, we're going some great memories in the mid '80s. I want you to talk about Eric Jones for a minute, because I know you guys had a special bond off the field, but on the field, you guys just clicked. You and Boo and TP. It's like you just knew what was going on. A lot of nonverbal communication. And that's what
Oh yeah. Oh
About
yeah.
EJ as a leader, as your quarterback, that just made it special for you to be in that huddle with him.
I mean, I'm just telling you, it's like we knew what each other were thinking about, and you get out, you break the huddle, we can see the defense and we'll look each other and you can see, you make that eye contact and okay, we know what we're gonna do here. And you get your spacing, do your little curl route, your 8 to 10 yard curl route, bam, it hit you right there on the numbers. So yeah, he was great to play with. Like I say, I wish I had after my senior year, I wish I had got a chance maybe not play my freshman year. So I could have been able to be there that extra year because pretty much everyone else had gotten redshirted except myself. My freshman year, only a handful of us played that year, and it would have been great to have been able to have that extra year with the guys.
You remember that EJ actually his first year that he was eligible didn't play quarterback. He contributed as a receiver.
Yeah, I do.
Heck of an athlete. He was probably as athletically gifted of a quarterback that I ever played with or got to see and just experience, what was about with EJ. Most quarterbacks they're not that athletically gifted. They can do some things that are special, but EJ really was a precursor to the modern quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. And he was tough too. He wasn't like, he couldn't take a hit or something. Because I've seen him a lot of times where he didn't pitch the ball and turned it up and just got blasted. But he got back up, came back to the huddle, didn't come out the game. And that's what's interesting today. I mean, I remember if we ran a 40-yard play, we're still back in the huddle. Now in today's game, they run 20 yards and I need to come out. Like, wait, why are you coming out? I don't get that. I still get a chuckle when I see these guys come out so much now, but I guess that's just the way it is.
Everett, let's take it off the court or off the field, on campus. I want to talk about, and I know this is going to bring a smile to your face, those Towers steroid parties. How much fun were those for you?
Oh, man. You're talking about the off season, during basketball season, our parties that we threw? Oh, man. I mean, the campus needed them. I mean, number one. I mean, there was nothing better. I never forget one year we did it in the Towers on the 4th floor. And that was one of the livest parties we had. Everybody was dancing. There wasn't a person not moving. And someone was dancing on one of the air conditioning units, right? We didn't know at the time that they broke it and the water hose to it had started to fill up the floor. Right. So I don't know, it could have been going on for about maybe an hour or so, right? So it was when people were trying to leave, they started reaching down to get their coats and it was soaking wet. So then we turned on the lights and saw the water had flooded the whole 1st floor. It was going down the elevators, down to the other floors, all the way down to the basement. Oh man, wow. we cleaned out of that area very quick.
Well, I can assure you that was probably not one of the better nights for Flater as the RA of the but he loved it nonetheless. But my memories are Jeff Mays being the DJ.
Yeah.
And the music.
And Willis was another guy. Willis, I can't remember Willis' last name, but he was another guy that DJ'd as well. But yeah, they knew what they were doing. And I don't know if you remember, I think you may have been there with Miles Fleming. He was lineman. He used to have this python that he kept in his room. And we went home for winter time, and he thought he could leave it on. He left the lamp on thinking it'd be okay, right? Well, they turned off the power in the dorms. So it was like 6 feet long, right? It had found a way to go all the way down the pipes and everything. Ended up in the basement wrapped around one of the pipes down where we get some warmth. And I'd never forget, they called him from home. They called him home to come and get his snake.
Wow.
That was some crazy stuff, man. It was some good memories.
Tony said it was Willis Perry.
Willis Perry, yep.
And Jeff Mays used to be called Kid Mays.
Kid Mays, yep.
It was Boris the Python.
Yeah, see, his memory is better than mine.
Oh, it's fantastic. But I will tell you, One of the stories I do remember about Miles or Mills is he had one of the more horrific injuries that I had ever seen in practice. I don't know if you remember this, but he dislocated his ankle in a blocking. We were doing some
I remember that
drill, and it was a look away type situation.
Yeah.
But that I remember that for whatever vivid reasons. But let me take you to some other things. Where did you guys, when you weren't in the dorms hanging out and playing cards and nobody wanted to admit they were cheating with their teammate, but we'll move past that. Where did you guys like to hang out on or off campus?
It wasn't too many places to hang out, to be honest. We would occasionally go over to some of the local colleges at Tennessee State or Fisk, but we didn't really go too many places. For me, I got to tell you, man, I remember some nights after games, after a tough loss, man, I just go to the lab just to get my mind off of what just happened. And so, it was just good to just hang out. We just sit around and just talk and just hang out with the guys. And that's pretty much what it was. It was a good time though. I mean, it was, I think all of us that chose to go to Vanderbilt came there with a purpose. You want to go there and be that one player, that be part of a group to make a difference, right? And you get there, you go through your 4 years, and unfortunately, you don't achieve what you had hoped to. So it leaves somewhat of a bitter taste in your mouth to a certain degree, but it's not that you don't dislike your experience. It's like, man, you wish you could have been that change factor that could have, got them to the right place. And it seems like we've still been searching for that. I thought we had it for a second when Franklin was there, but then he left and, it kind of went sideways there for a minute. So I hope that with this new coach, things kind of get back on track because there was some excitement there for a minute.
Game since he's been named coach, but he's certainly got some momentum. It looks like.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, Everett, I know that after your playing days, unlike most of us, you got a free agent tryout with the Falcons. And
no, Tampa Bay.
I'm sorry, with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But even to get a free agent tryout is a big step. Very few people ever get drafted, as we know, and the draft is in about 36 minutes, and I'm going to have you out of here in 5.
That's great.
And I hope we got a couple of Andy guys who are going to get drafted this weekend. Yeah, but just to have a tryout with the Bucks, what did that mean to you? What did it show or not show for you from an athletic standpoint? Did it bring closure of any sort?
Yeah, I was thankful to get an opportunity to go play, and I know I prayed about it, like, hey, God, if this is what you want me to do, then so be it. So I went down there with expectations to say, I'm going to give it my best shot. And to be honest, I needed shoulder surgery. My senior year against Kentucky, I dislocated my collarbone so I could wiggle this bone. So I knew I needed to have surgery. So I went down there knowing that. I know when I went in for the physical, I kept the towel over my shoulder so they didn't see my collarbone. But I made it through, and it's just kind of a different experience. I don't think I didn't feel like I couldn't do what I needed to do. It's just you just didn't really get the opportunity that I would have liked to have had. And going to Tampa Bay probably wasn't the best decision because at that time they were not.
Who was their coach?
Ray Perkins was the coach. And it just was not a good thing. And I got to tell you, as bad as our locker rooms were at Vanderbilt at that time, it was better than what Tampa Bay had. That's how bad it was for a professional team.
Wow.
And it was chicken wire locker rooms. It was Clover House at the time ran that on a shoestring budget, and you could tell.
You felt like you were on an away game when you're playing in high school.
Yeah, it was bad. I remember walking into the room with when we were staying at University of Tampa when we were going through tryouts, and Vinny Testaverde, they had just drafted him, like he's making all the money, and he ended up. I walked into his room, and he's got like 100 lottery cards, scratch-offs I'm like, dude, what are you playing the lottery for? What are you doing scratch offs for? I mean, it was funny. I didn't understand. To this day, I don't understand why I was even doing that. But hey.
Oh, Everett, I got to bring this up before we conclude because you're about to get red faced.
Uh-huh.
Derek Sarter's got an awesome story I have to tell.
Uh-oh. All right,
Bobby Brown concert at the TSU gym.
Say it again.
Bobby Brown concert at the TSU gym. Either you tell it or I'm gonna tell it.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Who was voted as the sexiest man in Nashville?
Oh,
Everett Crawford.
no, he didn't do that. I
He
didn't
did
think
you
he was
dirty.
going there.
He did you dirty. That's awesome. Thank you, Derek.
Oh, Derek, I can't. Derek, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Wait, give me his number after this.
Well, my friend, you're gonna have to go down to the DR, to the Dominican, to go to Derek if you want.
I heard he's down there. I'm definitely wouldn't mind coming over there to visit him.
I was actually in the DR back in the winter, but we were across the other side of the island, but we had an awesome FaceTime and I got to catch up with him for just a little bit. Luke Wyatt says to tell you hello.
Luke, my man, Luke. Luke was the glue that kept a lot of us together. I mean, I look up to him, man. He's like a brother to me. I mean, that guy, when I need to know where someone is, I call Luke and Luke can let me know.
Oh, Luke, you're exactly right about that. And I was so glad to call him friend. He's called so many friends. Now, in closing, and I gotta get back to this.
Yeah.
Every Little Step, My Prerogative. What was your favorite Bobby Brown song?
I don't know. You know, they were all pretty good. You know, it's all about, you know, if the girls came there and they were going to be there, you know, the players were going to be there. So, you know, if the girls liked it, we liked it.
It was all about that attitude, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
That awesome smile that you're displaying right there, that's what I remember from back in the day. Everett, I have so enjoyed our conversation this afternoon.
I have too. Yeah, this has been great. That's been great. And I'm glad that you're doing this. I mean, you know, for us as players, you know, we don't get a chance to reminisce and go down memory lane like this. And what you're doing is certainly a blessing and certainly will need it for our alumni class. So keep doing it. Keep doing it.
I can assure you I'm the one who has the most fun, but I hope you have access to get into this Facebook group because there's a whole bunch of comments here that you're just going to love to see. But but guys, as we always do on Thursday nights, conversations with Commodores. Anchor down.
Anchor down.
See y'all next week.
Thank you. Take care.